despite the stare downs from the dietary staff and the healthcare aides because we were throwing off their timing. Every morning I said good morning and even got to enjoy my coffee every once in a while, 2 to 3 times a week for almost 5 months. So the Friday before my birthday, I said, I'll see you Tuesday. And he said, cake for breakfast sounds nice. Tuesday, I had a larger than normal referral load and missed breakfast entirely. So I went to the kitchen and asked the manager if she saw Mr. T come out to eat and how he was doing. She just looked at me and said, I think he stayed in his room. I felt something inside of me sink a little bit and felt my legs running. I got to his room and saw a lady with heavy tears streaming down her face and said, he's been waiting for you. I felt guilty I was late and I turned to him and I knew. I held his hand and said, good morning, Mr. T, it's Crystal. I swear he had a little smirk and he took his last breath. So why I share this with you is that from then on, I vowed to make health systems better for Mr. T and greater than 2,000 other residents I saw after that. With every role and every partnership I facilitate, so we're able to live our best life before we say good morning for the last time. It was this intergenerational relationship that shaped who I am and reminding me to pause and to appreciate both where I came from and who helped me get there and where I'm going and who I continue to strive to be. Always working to create sustainable relationships, meaningful connections, and lasting impact. So that's where part of this passion for the community of practice came from. And I know there are so many other passionate individuals here on the line today and as part of the committee. So when I heard at the Alberta Healthy Communities Symposium at the beginning of March, communities are challenged with social isolation in their older populations and with youth who are seeking purpose. I rallied some collaborators, Julie from the Community Development Unit, she was a presenter at the symposium, Haley Goliaths with Community Choose Well, and next I was introduced via Jody, Betty Good at LINKages. The week after the symposium, COVID shut down the province and the world, only amplifying loneliness and isolation. During that time, I was honored to be involved in the development of the CORE platform and as part of the development of the community-based senior service sector led by Carrie Sage, Age Friendly Calgary, Edmonton Seniors Coordinating Council. And that's where the amazing Leadership Council, Jody from Ministry of Seniors and Housing, Rob with Lethbridge Seniors Citizens Organization, Liz, Miriam, the United Way supported this proposal to develop and launch this initiative to address the gaps in our communities and to support everyone here on the call across the province to be part of someone else's purpose. This virtual community practice is intended to be community driven, supported by key facilitators like yourselves, capacity builders, to deepen the engagement, to build new ideas, to connect those with passion towards intergenerational relationship building and community development. Ultimately, we aim to knit together those participating in, creating, or looking to create intergenerational linkages in their communities, moving from coexistence to collaboration. So with us today is our passionate committee that now consists of Betty Good, Charlene Fletcher, Julie Friesen, Rebecca Zazula, and Chantel Ottenbright. Betty is unfortunately under the weather today, and we're sending her our best. She's been a major force in this initiative and as the coordinator of intergenerational programs at care centers, connecting residents with junior and senior high school students for long-term relationships, as well as the Rural Link program, collaborating with rural areas in Alberta to help them develop intergenerational programs in their communities. So in her place today, I'm pleased and privileged to introduce Ruby Lecot, Executive Director, as well from LINKages. Charlene Fletcher, she works for Chinook Arch Regional Library System as a Seniors and Intergenerational Program Developer, funded by a grant from Alberta government to address ageism and social inclusion for rural communities. Julie Friesen, the Community Development Officer with the Government of Alberta. Rebecca Zazula, Family and Community Support Services Program and Volunteer Coordinator from Rocky Mountain House. Chantel Ottenbright, Community Resource Worker at the City of Medicine Hat. So thank you to the Intergenerational Committee. And I'll pass it over to you, Liz.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Crystal, for that amazing introduction. And I'm very pleased to talk us through just a few minutes around some of the background and context. And I'm seeing so many familiar names in the participant panel in the chat box. And so I know many of you have heard this before, but we really feel it's worth highlighting and centering the work of all of the different groups that are forming, including this one, with the broader piece for people's information. So CORE stands for Collaborative Online Resources and Education. It's a platform to connect the community-based senior serving organization and sector and allied agencies and individuals all across Alberta. So for those of you who are not familiar with it, the community-based senior serving sector, or CBSS, actually emerged from community conversations that were held in the fall and winter of last year that focused on the strengths and challenges of the community-based senior serving sector, opportunities for the future, interest in developing a CBSS sector here in Alberta. And 4 organizations volunteered to lead these discussions: SAGE Seniors Association in Edmonton, Edmonton Seniors Coordinating Council, CARIA in Calgary, and Age Friendly Calgary. You see their logos below there on the slide. And the concept of a CBSS sector is based on the success of our peers in BC. So we're growing something here in Alberta and adapting it and seeing what works here. And for the purpose of these conversations, CBSS organizations were broadly defined to include nonprofit agencies such as senior centers, community organizations that provide social and recreational programs and or support services for area seniors. We also included senior services provided through municipal agencies. And as we all know, CBSS organizations are so vital because they provide support and services to improve health and social outcomes for older adults, including programs and supports like intergenerational programs and supports, affordable housing, transportation, health and wellness, and the list goes on and on. And one element that was very clear from the feedback received in these fall and winter community sessions was a desire for greater collaboration and cooperation within the sector and with other systems such as Alberta Health Services. So we see in these groups and in these efforts the coming together, not only within the sector, the CBSS sector, but also across sectors involving Alberta Health Services, primary care networks. We see Alberta Blue Cross in here as an example. So as we mentioned, here we could see some information on who attended, and you can see the report on the website. The What We Heard report website is in CORE Alberta in the About section. And so 2 more members joined the interim CBSS Leadership Council from Lethbridge Senior Citizens Organization and Golden Circle Senior Resource Center. And they see themselves as catalysts and support the notion that leadership should be community driven. And so they were primed to have a slower community development approach to establish a leadership table. And then, of course, COVID happened. And so as a response to the COVID pandemic, there was an acceleration of the original plans. And so the development of this core work and the groups and some of this kind of online piece here was prioritized for the moment and rapidly developed in about 4 weeks with the support from Alberta Blue Cross, United Way, Ministry of Seniors and Housing, Alberta Health Services, and of course primarily from the community-based partners who are here all together doing the work. And it is hoped that this conversation and future conversations and future opportunities to work together in a variety of digital and in-person ways provincially will really add value to all of our work. And so I'll now turn it back to Crystal to carry us on through the core of the work here.
Thanks, Liz, and thanks for providing the background and the very important work that you've done over the past year or so. It's incredible how fast time flies, I feel. It's my pleasure to now introduce Ruby Lecot, the Executive Director of LINKages Society of Alberta.
Thanks very much, Crystal. And as Crystal had mentioned, I'm here in the place of my wonderful colleague, Betty, who's unfortunately home with the flu, and I wish her well. And so the presentation you're about to see is her work, not mine. And I will do my best to do her justice because she is just amazing and we're so pleased to have her. So we wanted to start out with just a little bit about what is intergenerational programming and why is it important? Why is it needed? So when we're talking about intergenerational programming, we typically think of seniors and youth, but really intergenerational programming can be any program that brings together people from a different generation. Most of the programs I think people are familiar with generally have an age gap of about 25 to 30 years or more. But the core component of all of them is that they're intentional. So it's not just a space like the mall where you might find seniors, you might find youth, but we're bringing them together in meaningful ways for the benefit of both. Programs that are intergenerational can look 100 different ways. And as we'll talk about, that's the beauty of them. They can be anything from a one-off or one-time event, such as a picnic, to a longer-term program that actually can occur up over a course of a number of years, as one of our guest speakers, George, will tell us about a little bit later. But they're anything that, as I said, intentionally brings generations together to connect is an intergenerational program. And why are they needed? Well, there's a number of related issues that both seniors and youth face. Sorry, Crystal or Miriam, I think it's Miriam that's running
Yes,
this.
can we have the next slide?
Yes.
Thanks, Miriam.
Yeah, and sorry, I should have prompted you. My apologies. So there's a number of issues that both generations face that many people might not think about. So people are often surprised to hear that social isolation applies not just to seniors, but also youth, and that it's as big a risk to your health as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day, other risk factors such as obesity and diabetes. So the impact on health is very real. And that for both youth and seniors, in terms of developing and maintaining healthy brain development and function, those face-to-face, eye-to-eye, serve and return types of interactions are critical to keeping the brain healthy over the span of over the whole lifespan. And the issues that are faced by both generations are more. People will often think of them as one or the other, but actually both face them. So, and as Crystal rightly identified, COVID has just compounded the risk factors of stress, of social isolation, as people are quarantined not only in their own homes, but sometimes in their rooms, at care centers, leading to increased loneliness, decline in mental and physical and emotional health. Social isolation for folks living in the community is a predictor and risk factor for people slipping into poverty. And for seniors, it's actually a predictor of early death. So why are intergenerational programs important? Because, next slide, please. The wonderful thing is many of the people that are on this call are already involved with intergenerational programming. So I know I am preaching to the converted. We get to see every day the power that intergenerational programs have, and they serve as an antidote and also as preventative medicine, if you will, for all of the risk factors that were listed before. So we know that both youth and seniors experience marginalization, and when we can bring them together, they're able to learn not only from each other, but learn together about their strengths and the value that they have. Seniors tell us over and over again that they feel a renewed sense of purpose in their life. They look forward to getting up in the morning. They feel like they have something to offer at a time in their life when they maybe thought that wouldn't be the case anymore. And for youth, they not only have a personal cheerleader, because our seniors come to care very, very much about the youth and are one of their greatest role models and encouragers of what they're doing in life, but the next generation of decision makers grow up dementia aware, age friendly, compassionate, empathic. They're motivated because they know the issues are very real. They have an increased sense of citizenship and giving back, and they report that they're actually more likely to volunteer and commit themselves to social causes because of their experience. Next slide, please. So if I can ask another colleague, Crystal Guzman, who we're also blessed to work with. She is our school programs and music to link coordinator. I would like to bring Crystal on board to tell you the story of Terry and his boys, because real life speaks a lot louder, I think, than me.
Thank you, Ruby. So in this picture was taken at a program where the students go after school and walk to the care center. It's pretty much across the street from them. They went there every Thursday, once a week. Usually the pairings are 2 students with 1 senior, but in this picture you see there's 3 students with 1 senior. So what happened was one of the students was sick that day, and there was a substitute for the student that was sick. But the substitute liked the program so much and just really clicked with Terry and the other student that he didn't want to leave. So how could we say no to him? We just let him join the program, and they became a group of 3 students and 1 senior. Terry really bonded with them. Terry has been in the program for 5 years, the senior Terry, and the students were there all throughout high school from grade 10 to grade 12. They stayed with Terry those 3 years. And even in the summertime, they would go visit him. They were really great. If Terry wasn't in the meeting room by 4 p.m. when the boys were supposed to be there, the boys would go look for him and find him and bring him down to the program. And it just really clicked and bonded that year, or those 3 years. And thank you. Next slide, please.
Thanks very much, Crystal. So next, I would like to introduce Rebecca Zazula, who is, I would consider, just the dynamo of IG programming. I had the pleasure of meeting Rebecca in Sylvan Lake when Betty and I were doing an intergenerational train the trainer training, which is a little bit of a mouthful. And Rebecca and her colleague approached us after and said, do you ever do linkages chapters outside of the city? Because if you ever do, we would like to be one. And that started an idea that has grown into our Rural Link program. And Rebecca has just been the champion of that work. And so I would like to introduce Rebecca to speak to us a little bit about the amazing work that she's been doing in Rocky Mountain House in Caroline.
Hi, thank you all for coming today. So as the nice ladies have mentioned, this is our highlights for Rural Link. And now this year it's grown to multiple various chapters of Rural Link, but so it was just a variation of the Linkages program that we tweaked to meet the needs in our rural communities, because it's a little bit different than the city when we don't have public transit and things aren't as close together. And in our specific area, a lot of families, it's quite transient, or they live very far apart from the different generations within their family, or seniors have been rehomed here from cities, so their family is somewhere else and they're here. So it was a really great way to connect seniors and youth that just didn't have those connections organically. So in these 2 pictures here are 2 of our groups, and they're playing cards any chance they got, no matter what activity we had planned for the day. As soon as they'd finish up, or if it was a day they got to pick, they'd end up playing cards. They'd play all sorts of games. One day they were building card houses, or they were teaching each other different card games, just all sorts of different things to do with cards. It was their go-to. The kids were a grade 4-5 leadership class, and we would go twice a month on Wednesdays, and we'd walk down to the lodge. And the only way it ever got canceled was if it was below -20 for walking, because we walked. And they absolutely loved it. They did things ranging anywhere from Remembrance Day ceremonies with stories, because some of the seniors brought in their uniforms from the war, or pictures from their siblings going off to war, or their parents. They told stories, they did talent shows, they had show and tell of all sorts of different things where the kids would try to figure out what this contraption was that the seniors had brought in or vice versa. And they loved Christmas caroling together as well. Those are just a few of the things they love doing. As for the impact on the participants, it was tremendous. We had seniors walking past during the programming that they would look in through the window and they'd see how much fun the rest were having, and they asked to join in. So we had some alternates that became permanents. We ended up with 24 kids that were a part of the program the very first year out. So it got quite big quite fast. And we had typically groups with 3 seniors, so that even if one of the kids was sick, there was still 2 kids per senior. And the kids, a lot of them were bringing their families and their parents in the evenings to meet their senior friends because they were so excited about this relationship they had formed. They all benefited so much from their connections. They shared knowledge, humor, and they taught each other things, which then added to both sides' sense of purpose. The kids gained perspective on how things have changed over the years because they did discussions on what chores used to look like, or even the struggles of living through times of war, which now it's some similar weird things with the pandemic, but they taught each other different games, they revived old memories and made new ones with the seniors. And the younger group, because it was a 4-5 split, as I mentioned, they were excited that this year they get to mentor in the new group of kids because they loved it so much and they wanted to be able to share that with the next group of kids coming up. And they loved making that difference in the lives of their senior friends. That was always one of their concerns. When the buses didn't run, we had kids getting their parents to drive them to town because they couldn't miss Rural Link. So it was really amazing. One of the senior friends commented many times on how much she appreciated the program, and one of her quotes on the slide there is, "Thank you for all your hard work. I sure hope you keep this program going. It's just wonderful and I love it. The kids are just wonderful." And that was Barb, and she didn't have grandkids in the area, and she used to teach back in the day and just missed the connections that she'd had with the kids. So that was wonderful for her. And then Bud commented the one day after they had made ice cream from scratch with ice and Ziploc bags and salt and cream and sprinkles. He said it reminded him of childhood memories of when they used to churn ice cream after church on Sundays. And so that turned into a story with the kids, and they were laughing, and it really changed the kids' perspective of, instead of just going and opening the freezer, how things used to be. Well, if you wanted ice cream, you actually had to go and make ice cream because you didn't have the freezer where it would last for a long period of time and things. So it's just been really great. And I am excited to say that they're willing to continue it this year and just working around COVID. Thank you all.
Thanks so much, Rebecca. As I said, the Rural Link program, especially in Rocky Mountain House and Caroline, have just caught fire, and that's thanks to all of your work. And while you were speaking, Rebecca, Jody had made a comment that sometimes it's harder to engage males in programming, and that maybe intergenerational programming might be a good way. And that certainly, I would have to say, has been our experience. We have 15 programs in 14 different care centers, and though we do have more women, the men who come are very, very engaged. And in fact, the care center staff will tell us often LINKages is the only program they will attend. So the youth are for sure a draw, and they develop really amazing connections. And as Rebecca, I think, has shared very well, those connections are real and they're deep, and it's wonderful. So thank you for all of your work that you're doing to bring that alive in rural settings.
You're welcome.
It has absolutely been great to have you on board. So one other impact story, well, it's one of many actually that we would like to share, but this one still may make me cry. I'm going to warn you. I want to share the story of Alyssa and Mickey and their senior friend Anna. They met during the 2018 programming year in one of our school and care center programs. And they bonded, as we see the youth and seniors do, just incredibly. And as Anna's health started to decline, she had to move to a different care center. And Alyssa and Mickey asked if they could move with her. So they actually left the Linkages Everyday Weekly program and continued to visit Anna at her new home because they wanted to make sure she got settled in, that she had something familiar, that she had some kind of happy times that they could carry on, which shows, for one, just how amazing our youth are, but also shows the bonds, the true and deep bonds that really develop. And sadly, not too long after that, Anna passed away, but Alyssa and Mickey built a tribute video to Anna, to her life, and to their friendship. And that is what we would like to share with you now. Miriam, could I bother you to start?
I will stay with you. We'll make it to the other side, like lovers do.
Thanks so much, Miriam. As I said, just what a beautiful tribute, not only to Anna's life, but to the connection that they made. So moving on to our last, but certainly not least, impact stories. We would like to share with you an amazing senior volunteer, an amazing youth volunteer. The first one being Lorna Diprose, who's joining us in our office today. And Lorna, you are a retired nurse, if I remember correctly, and I don't know how she ever had time to work. She was so busy and so involved in her community. And we've been absolutely blessed enough to have Lorna join a number of our programs. She's now getting close to volunteering about 100 hours with us in a variety of aspects. She's participated in a number of programs and also helped us to facilitate them. And it is my pleasure to introduce Lorna to you. And we will ask she and George the same thing, to share with us a little bit about what intergenerational programming has meant to you. Welcome, Lorna.
Thank you. I have really enjoyed the kids. I raised grandchildren, so they're all in their 30s now. So coming back to some teens was really nice for me. I really believe that some of those kids come from other countries and they don't have grandparents here, so they don't know what us old people are like. So it's good to show a good impression and let them know that, you know, we do like kids and we are there for them and we can help a bit, and they just cheer me up so much. I had one that really wanted to spend more time with me, but between her parents who weren't too keen on that and also COVID, it never happened. But I thoroughly enjoyed all the kids. They taught me a lot, and I hope that I gave them some insight too.
Thanks so much, Lorna. And as Lorna has very rightly identified, it's been really, really challenging during the times of COVID to keep folks connected. And one of the ways we've been trying is by implementing a pen pal program, as Lorna had spoken about, that a lot of times youth, and Rebecca had identified as well, youth simply don't know about some things that were very commonplace in our past. And the lost art of letter writing is one of them. So that's one of the ways we're trying to keep our seniors and youth connected. And for youth, it's kind of exciting for them to get a letter in the mail, because that may not be something they've ever experienced before. So thank you, Lorna, for all that you have done and all that you continue to do. You sure make a difference. And we are looking forward to the days when we can get back out into the Greater Forest Lawn Senior Center and continue our programming face to face.
Thank you. We're looking forward to it too.
Yes. And next, I'd like to introduce George Tadros, and I hope I've pronounced that correctly, George. Who's the amazing president of our LINKages University of Calgary chapter. He's been volunteering with LINKages for 3 years and started in a high school care center program. And last year, as George had mentioned before, we were chatting a bit before the program started. He is actually studying neuroscience at the U of C and decided to join the University of Calgary chapter there, and then moved up into the role of president. George brings absolutely his heart and immense knowledge into everything that he does, and we're very lucky to have George here today to tell us a little bit about how intergenerational programming has impacted him. Welcome, George.
Thank you so much, Ruby. Thank you. And thank you for that beautiful introduction. And it's really hard to go after all you awesome people, but I hope I bring something to the conversation. So as Ruby said, I've been with LINKages for 3 years now. And honestly, so much of what I have become now, I owe to LINKages. As Ruby said, I started off in high school in the intergenerational program in high school. And then that was really my first volunteering opportunity that I ever did, starting from high school. And to give you a little bit of perspective about how I have changed, during that time in high school, I honestly found it really hard to connect with anybody who's in an older generation, even sometimes my grandparents. And to kind of look back on that and to look at where I am now, it's definitely made an impact, and it's definitely changed me for the better in so many ways. And I just want to talk about like a little bit of how it impacted me in such different ways. I think the first way that it impacted me is it gave me that kind of push that I needed to get out there and to talk and to make connections with people who are not my age and who don't have similar experiences to me. And to that I owe a lot, because after that I continued to volunteer with with LINKages, and I actually started to volunteer with Bethany, which is a care center for dementia, and I have enjoyed it, and I've been volunteering with them for 2 years now, or going on 3 years, and it's awesome, and I owe that to LINKages because it started off that connection. And I think one other thing that intergenerational programming has taught me is empathy, and I think that's huge, because I was put in a lot of situations that I was talking with one of my senior friends, and they mentioned something that I had no idea what it was, or I had no idea how it feels like, and it teaches you that there's something else outside of yourself. It teaches you that there is it teaches you to think outside of yourself, and I think that's hugely important. And it's just the connections that I have, and I might not remember exactly every single situation that happened during my time in high school, but I definitely remember how I felt after. I definitely remember going back to my car after we had finished our little event, and I remember kind of thinking back on it and saying, wow, that was good. I had come in worried about my tests and worried about all the things that I had to do, and I just came out kind of thinking, wow, this was awesome. So thank you so much for LINKages, and thank you. And it has greatly impacted me, and has definitely shaped who I am now.
Thank you so much, George. And I can tell you with absolute sincerity that you make absolutely the same positive difference in the lives of seniors. And thank you for all that you do and all that you bring. And in wrapping up, I wanted to thank all of the speakers that have shared their time here today. And I will hand it over to Charlene Fletcher and Chantel Ottenbright, who are doing some exciting work in other areas of the province. And Charlene, I believe, take it away.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and share my experiences with intergenerational programming. So I was tasked to develop and implement an intergenerational program in the libraries, which in Southern Alberta hadn't been done yet. And so I had to develop 7 classes to be delivered over a 2-year period to the libraries. And my biggest challenge in starting the program was there wasn't really anywhere to go. I had to search many hours on the internet to find programs that were there's lots of programs being done, but there wasn't one place for me to find all the information. And specifically for in libraries, there were some programs. And so through all that research, I was able to develop a program that we could do in the libraries. And some of the things that were unique to our program was I would be bringing the program to the libraries, and it would not be a sign up, it would just be a drop-in. So I had to be prepared for working with children and seniors from age 3 or 4 was what we would like, all the way to seniors to 100 or more, or whoever would like to come. And I never knew if I would have 3 people there or 40 people there. So I had to be prepared for whatever or whoever showed up. And it was always exciting to see the challenges as they came. And I have to really shout out to the librarians who were so helpful in accommodating the programs in their libraries. Some libraries were really big and some were really tiny. And so, but we always had a really enjoyable time. And so through all that experience, I learned a lot of things through trial and error. And then once I discovered CORE, it became a lifesaver, especially during COVID, because then I wasn't able to go out to the libraries anymore. And so we had to kind of change our focus on how we could help seniors in isolation and also provide programming for families. And so CORE became, when it came on in June, it was absolutely amazing to me, all the resources that there were in Alberta. And I'm so excited to be part of this community of practice, because now intergenerational program, we have somewhere to go to have mentors or people to talk to, ask questions to, and say, hey, how can I do this? How can I get started? Here's my problems. Here's what I need to do. And now we have someone to talk to. I really am excited because I didn't really have anyone to talk to. And so this has been awesome. And I just want to say the picture that's on the slide is from one of the programs we did in the community. And we just had the one senior come, and it was one of our game programs. And her and this sweet little girl just bonded instantly. And this girl's an immigrant, and her mom just said they don't have any family here, and how excited she was to form this relationship with this sweet senior, and that she was going to make sure that that relationship could continue. So it's one of my favorite photos of many, of being able to be out into all these communities. I did 28 libraries, and to see the impact that this has in rural communities. People are lonely and want to communicate and want to be together. And so I feel providing this programming within a library that's already established has been really important to our communities. And so I'm grateful to be part of it. So in sharing that, if you're new to intergenerational programming, what are some of the important things that you need to know? And so I feel like if you have any discussions that you would like to share of what you feel like you need to know at this point.
And if you're not feeling comfortable, you can put your answer in the chat box, but we're open to discussion here. So happy to have you offer some insights. Maybe before we get started, why don't we take a poll, and Miriam, if you can assist in this, to get an understanding of where everyone might be at in terms of experience with intergenerational programming and where you're situated in the province.
Is everyone able to see the results of the poll?
Great. So we've got a really good mix between rural and urban on the line. And so potentially some unique situations and contexts in which we would have challenges or pieces of information that might be necessary to know to initiate an intergenerational program. Did we have a next poll, Miriam?
Yes. The next poll we have is just around what type of organization you are part of.
Oh, Lorna, I see you speaking, but you're on mute if you had something to offer.
Just going to share the results of the poll.
That's great. So the majority here, we have senior serving community organizations, a few from healthcare, government, but social services and housing and caregiving. That's great.
And we have one last poll that is just about your level of knowledge of intergenerational programming.
That's great. So that's where we were sort of anticipating that we would be discussing with people who had an idea what intergenerational programming is, potentially the impact that it could achieve, but are looking for more insights in how we can work together to leverage our combined experiences, resources, and opportunities to build stronger intergenerational programs. Excellent. Are those the end of the polls, Miriam?
Sorry, yes, they are.
Great. So what we wanted to achieve there is basically understanding of the audience and having the audience understand who's in the room and their level of comfort and experience with these types of initiatives. I see we have a few comments in the chat box here. So Jody has offered the positive impact and implications for new Canadians as an aspect of intergenerational programming. Absolutely. The connections to older adults, particularly if they are separated from an older adult in their life. I see Kim has a question for us. How do you prepare children, or do you, for meeting older adults with a dementia diagnosis? This is a great comment. And Ruby, you might be able to offer some insights here, because I know I've discussed this with Betty in terms of the training that's offered.
Yes, that's right. Thanks, Crystal. So as part of our senior sensitivity training, youth do receive some education about dementia, how to interact respectfully with a person living with dementia, and just some information about the progression of the disease so that they have the tools they need going in.
And Crystal, I'm seeing it's Liz here. I see Carol has a question a little bit further back around,
Okay.
do you do a formal matching of senior and youth? So a question about the importance if you're new at intergenerational programming.
Sure, so I can start with that, and everybody else please jump in. We do intentional matching in that we try to pair youth and seniors with similar interests so that they'll have things they would like to talk about. But some of our seniors are also very open and just say, match me with whoever. I'm happy to talk to whomever comes to the table. So the intentional matching, we ask in the application forms around interest so that we can match people a little better. And we do find that pretty helpful.
And then I can also just jump in. If the students join linkages again the next year, usually we ask if they want to be the same senior friend. If they say yes, then we can partner them up with the same senior friend. That way they can build a long-lasting friendship.
That's great, thanks. And Darlene from NSTEP has her hand up next.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Darlene Schindel. I'm the health champion for NSTEP in Edmonton, which stands for Nutrition Students, Teachers, Exercising with Parents, which is a not-for-profit registered charity that was started in Calgary by a teacher. And why I got involved as a neuroscience nurse was because I believed that, health and education need to be working together. And seriously, I'm so impressed with this group. I don't even remember how I found you, but I signed up and I thought, obviously, I need to find out more about this particular group. So one of the things that we know, and one of the shifts that's happened, we work a lot in schools, but we also work in community work. And so with the shifts that we found in COVID, of course, are that schools are now kind of shutting down. They're trying to deal with all the stress of, how are they going to educate, get through the whole year. So there's an opportunity here to move to in community work. And so, for example, today I was on a call with the Edmonton Mennonite Center, and we were talking about things like and everywhere we go, I'm seeing a renewed focus on the needs of seniors, which is really absolutely the case. And we're seeing that we have a lot of work to do in our senior centers and all of those things, and hopefully we will get to that. But there are a lot of, one of the things that we know from research is that, especially in our immigrant population, it was interesting in the research from Dr. Bukola Salami that in 2001, our immigrant population was 6.1% in Alberta. 2017, it was 17.6%. So we have a great increase in the need in the immigrant population. I'm really impressed, for example, in this picture that you had a young immigrant student, because oftentimes those parents are afraid. There's a great deal of research that shows that oftentimes immigrant families are afraid that their children are going to be taken from them. So bringing those together is just an amazing concept. But one of the other things we know is that oftentimes the best place to serve the public, and sometimes that could be the seniors, again, the immigrant seniors, is where they are. So I can see why in a care home, in a setting, the first programs you showed where the students came to the nursing home or wherever it was really a great idea, because the seniors don't have to go anywhere. The students come there. So that's really the best place to serve them. In the library programs, which I thought was very interesting too, Mike, I would be interested to know, how did you get the seniors to come there? Because again, in our immigrant population, they felt very safe in their places of faith, for example. So if you're going to, you can go to a mosque or to a temple or something, wherever they have a place of worship, they would feel safe there for programs that were being offered. But I'm so impressed with all of you and the work you're doing. It's very exciting. I just wanted to share that there's so many opportunities. Nobody should ever be without work, because we have lots of work to do. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks for sharing, Darlene, and highlighting the importance of embracing our new Canadians and meeting seniors where they're at, being able to connect with them even in these times of COVID. I know there was a question about, and that's great about the programs, but how do we connect in times of COVID? And as Ruby has mentioned, is letter writing, having something come into the seniors and something physically present is a way that they can hold on to it, they can read it, they can connect through words. So that's a really great way to pivot. Also, what we're looking to achieve with this community of practice is building the skills, even looking at technical connections, how to improve the capacity in seniors, how to get the technology into their hands, and how do we support perhaps the technical training of older adults. So there's lots of ideas, lots of opportunities to explore, and that's where we're looking towards our community here to build our direction for this community of practice.
If I could also just jump in, just piggybacking off the writing component and the pen pal program that we have. We also, with the school programs, we have 15 programs in Calgary with 15 schools and 14 care centers. Each one is looking a little bit different based on the capacities of both the schools, the teachers, and the care center staff. But we have a program, just give me 1 second, I'm going to bring a little blue thing to show you. We have a program that we called Activity Buddies, where we would send activities to the schools for the students to do. And they're just, I don't know if you can see if it's maybe reversed, but they're just activities where they can fill in the blank and talk a little bit about themselves. It's not just the pen pal, it's a little bit more supportive and a little bit more engaging for the youth because they have a little bit of a template to work with. So we have them fill out the forms, the templates, the activities, and then we send them off to the care centers. And so this duotang is for a senior named Sharon. And so we have that for some of our school programs. We also have, I think Betty's doing a couple of virtual programs where the staff are able to connect the seniors with the youth virtually through Zoom, I think, or Google Hangouts, I believe. And so they would have a room full of seniors. I think they're going to be distanced. I may be saying this wrong, this is Betty's program, but they have enough iPads there for the seniors to be able to connect with the youth at another school. And so we have a little bit of variation in our programs, but we're still connecting them either virtually or through this Activity Buddies program. And yeah, that's my 2 cents there.
If I could just
Thanks, Crystal. Go ahead, George.
I just wanted to say that for our chapter at UFC, we actually have something very similar too. We are starting to implement a pen pal program too, and we actually we did a little at the beginning of the year. We did a little poll to see if our university volunteers would be interested, and a lot of them were very interested and were actually very excited to start a pen pal program because a lot of them are so used now to like texting and Skyping. So going back to a little bit of more writing and a more original approach is really exciting for them. So I think that it's an awesome way to connect during COVID.
I was wondering if I could just jump in on the comment about how to get people to the libraries. The thing that was really helpful was finding someone in the community, because in rural communities, there's always that one person who knows everyone. And so find that person. And that's what we were able to do in some of the communities. I just want to share quickly, in the community of Nanton, we worked with the early literacy coordinator there, and she was amazing. So here you have this little library in Nanton, and we had 45 people at that program. We had 15 school kids and 15 seniors, men and women. So for me, it was connecting with other organizations in the community that the seniors knew. The seniors don't know me, but they know their own people. And so they trust them. And so when they're inviting them, they were able to come to the library. And so for me, it was finding those connections. I don't know if that's helpful, but that's what really helped our program be successful.
And this is Liz here on that same topic. I'll just pull out from the group chat here from Rocky, was talking about how they've chatted with youth from Camp Firefly and other service groups like Skipping Stones, and met with youth from GSAs and church-based youth groups. So that idea of connecting people with communities that they know, it's great.
Thanks for sharing. So I'd like to delve in a little bit more about successes, and we've discussed a few of them that have helped contribute to the success of some of these programs and how to really connect with the youth with the older generation. So I'd like to reach out to you in the audience as well. Any successes you've had or what you found as successful, particularly during this time, to be able to engage the older population and our youth.
I guess I can start off. So this is our first program that we're going to be running, the activity buddies. I just picked these up this morning, actually, so it's very fresh, and taking them off to Bethany Care Center today for the seniors to do. So as I was saying, each program looks a little bit different. This particular program, the seniors are able to write back to the students, and so they will get pretty much the same copy of this sheet and send it off to their students. Like I would pick it up and send it off to their students. So that's one program where we have already started. And there's some programs where the seniors aren't able to write back just because of their physical abilities. And the staff are a little bit overworked and understaffed. So we have some low expectations on some of the seniors at the care centers reasonably. But this particular program, the seniors are able to write. So we're gonna start that and I can let you guys know how it goes.
If I could add
Thanks
that.
for sharing.
I just wanted to say that also one thing that we also kind of had to adapt for COVID is for a lot of our senior friends, technology is a lot hard, especially if they're living independently to get set up on virtual ways to connect. So something that we're excited to do, and we're actually doing really this weekend is a technology workshop where we would go and set up kind of stations, and then our senior friends can come in and they can ask all their questions about how the technology works, how to set up Zoom or how to set up Skype and how to connect and how to. So I think that's a really good idea that has stemmed from COVID for a need to kind of connect virtually, and it helps even in non-COVID times.
That's awesome, George. I also have one more thing to add. I'm also the Music to Link program coordinator at LINKages. And so what that program is it's a program designed for seniors with dementia, so that seniors with dementia have been found to have positive correlations with music, especially music that they can relate to. It kind of brings them to the present moment. It makes them feel better. It orients them a little bit better, and they're able to connect better with people that they know. And so this music program, it was put on hold because we used to go to the care centers and do a music program with the seniors there. It was similar to the school programs where there would be 2 students with 1 senior, but we'd have like a group sing along and then do some artwork, which has also been found to help seniors with dementia as well. But this year, since we have COVID and we can't go to the care centers, what I'm doing is reaching out to Age Friendly Calgary has a newsletter every month, and so they're going to be posting a sort of a info letter for caregivers if they have seniors that live with them at home, because a lot of the caregivers are working from home now. They're taking care of their parents, and some of them may have dementia. What I'm doing is creating activities for them so that they can engage with their seniors with dementia, with their loved ones, and sort of engage in a meaningful and intentional way that will benefit both the care partner and the senior with dementia. And so that's another thing that we've done during COVID. It hasn't really started yet. It's a little bit slow, but that's the intention of it.
That's great to hear about the innovation that is sort of stemmed from these challenges, and going back to the connections and what is meaningful, what helps promote those connections with the music, with a solid copy of a letter, being able to express yourself, being able to connect in different ways. So I appreciate all the work you're doing to facilitate that. Do we have perhaps any other challenges you faced besides the obvious of the physical distancing in adapting your intergenerational connections and linkages programs during COVID?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have found a lot of challenges, particularly I think with communicating with the liaisons, because we work with both schools and care centers here in Calgary. A lot of the care centers are obviously busy with their seniors, and a lot of them are a little bit understaffed, like I said before. So it's kind of hard to hear back from and coordinate and coordinate and finalize all the details for our program, as well as the teachers. You know, they're getting back into the groove of school with the pandemic, and so they've been busy for the first few months of school. So that would be one of the biggest challenges. But Betty and I have been working really hard to communicate with them and give them a little bit more flexibility and grace during this time that it's hard to communicate with people right now. So a lot of our programs, usually we start in the beginning of September with information sessions, but it's now almost November, and some of our programs have started and some of them haven't, which we think is actually a good thing because we're still trying to figure out what we're doing on our end and creating all these activities. We're starting pretty much from scratch this program. So it's given us a little bit more time to be more intentional with our activities. So it's been a challenge to, you know, coordinate the details of the program and communicate, but it's also been a sort of a saving grace because we have more time to be able to create these activities and have the time to really create everything in an intentional way. So I think that would be one of our biggest challenges so far.
And just building on what Crystal has said, I think one of the other key challenges during COVID has been trying to reach isolated seniors and youth without access to technology. And Dave, I don't know if you're still there beside Lorna. If you are, please go ahead and jump in. But one of the things that we're trying to do, there he is, there's Dave, is just to do some flyer campaigns and mail drops door to door to try and reach seniors that don't have computers and don't have access to the web or to emails. Dave, if there's anything you want to add to that, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think for community programs, we have usually gotten interest from care centers, activity centers, seniors homes, and different elements of the community. And everybody is shifting right now. You're finding different problems that everybody's having. Some having like Greater Forest Lawn 55 Plus, they're dealing with not being able to get enough people in, and that's kind of part of their platform. So everybody's got a different focus now that we're in a virtual environment. But of course, there's a lot of people that don't act virtually. So we created the Pen Pal program so that it would actually go with different organizations, and different organizations can pick this up. So it can be a collaborative program. It's not just stuck to Linkages membership. We want to really open these programs up. And one of the things that we're noticing as far as like what COVID has done as an innovation is we would usually run a program that would sit at a venue. And so we would need the people to join the venue. So at Greater Forest Lawn 55 Plus Society, for instance, we would need to have a certain amount of seniors show up at 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock on a Tuesday, and same with the kids. Now that everything's going virtual, we actually also have an opportunity where we can do one-on-ones on their time. So the programs don't need to be set to a venue. They can just be arranged between, and we can be like a matchmaker for intergenerational based on like maybe a goal or focus. So Story of Your Life is one that we're trying to like really start bringing up. That one will have a senior or a youth tell a story on a subject, whether it's like your community and what your community means to you. And they will kind of, the senior will get probed by the student and ask questions so that they can kind of develop a story and develop a relationship at the time. Obviously with storytelling, it's really fun to be able to share that. So to have a youth be able to absorb that and write something for them is a really kind of fun thing. So we're looking at ways that we can explore creating relationships virtually and even on one-on-one. Obviously dealing with privacy issues and stuff like that would be a concern with our virtual, but to create virtual opportunities actually gives a lot of flexibility to people's times. So we'll start looking at like what George is trying to do in technology support for the seniors. That will come in real good handy when we start providing different virtual elements. We'll start buying certain iPads that we could lend to seniors if they want to have an opportunity like this. And just trying to figure out ways that we can put at ease the virtual ability for seniors to communicate during the winter time.
Thanks, Dave. That's a great tie-in. George, I'm not sure if you could see in the chat box, there was actually a question directed to you.
Of course, I was just about to answer it in the chat box, but yeah. So yeah, the question was, what are the biggest successes and challenges in maintaining a linkages presence in school and or university? I think, in my opinion, the biggest challenge is getting it out there, especially during COVID times. So for so in normal times, you would have a clubs week where everybody would kind of go around and learn more, and that's how I learned about linkages in university. So I think that is the biggest challenge. However, a lot of the universities, especially University of Calgary, they've tried their hardest to provide ways for youth to know about all the events going on, and I think that has been successful. We've gotten a lot of new members this year that have joined our chapter, and I think it's just getting and adapting to the new method of delivering, the new method of using social media to advertise instead of the original way of just setting up a booth and talking to people. I think that is the biggest challenge, and also that the way to achieve the biggest success is to adapt and to go more into the online world and to adapt to that. But, yeah.
Thanks for sharing, George. Absolutely. I think universities they're missing the first week of that connection. And as you say, the club week where you get to know what's on campus, what's available. It's a way to communicate, and now we have to communicate differently. So I appreciate your advocacy around that. I just wanted to reserve some time to be able to explore some of the core platform and just to describe a little bit about what our next steps are for the intergenerational community of practice and how you all might help to shape it with us. So in the background and over the summer, as I mentioned, from March on, I've sort of been trying to get the ball rolling towards a structure or a way that we can come together. And this will be very much informed and driven by you all. So where we're at now, I just wanted to describe, we've completed the expression of interest, our terms of reference, we've got our action plan. We're looking now to become active on the core site, which we have done with the help of the United Way. So thank you very much for that. And I believe Miriam's going to provide a little bit of an overview on that, the platform, just so you're clear on where we are and where the discussion forum might be. What we're hoping to achieve is to start some webinar series or some discussion series such as this, where we might focus on training and the technical aspects of offering an intergenerational program. So that might be the technical side. The connection series, so where we're getting to become aware of what others are doing in this space, and even the mentorship series, where we would have peer mentorship for those who have been involved in intergenerational programming to support those who are looking to start something up, like as Rebecca's done, as Charlene's done in their communities without previous help, where we can start adding value and building that capacity in our communities. So if you have resources to offer, ideas or topics of interest you're happy to discuss, or if you're more comfortable, place it in the chat box to look to contribute to our upcoming sessions and what you'd like to see and what would be priority for you, particularly as we say in these COVID times, but how we can continue to build those engagement opportunities and to offer these programs. We will have an evaluation survey going out where you'd be able to offer more information as well, and you can reach out to any of us here for any clarification or for building more connection and engaging in the future. I just wanted to offer the opportunity as well. We at Alberta Blue Cross, I was just made aware, have until November 4th, we have up to $40,000 to offer programs such as this. So up to $5,000 per program to support the community capacity building. And that's called our Community Roots program. And I'll drop the link in the chat box, but we'll also provide it in a follow-up email. So I wanted to pass it over to Miriam perhaps to describe a little bit about the platform and where we would be able to meet online and have some discussions and start forming out our discussion topics going forward.
For sure. Thanks so much, Crystal. And so just very quickly, I'll share a little bit about the platform. I'll just give you a quick tour. I'm just going to pull it up here on my end, just so that you can quickly see where you can go to find the site. So we're at corealberta.ca, and then basically the site offers a lot of resources, trainings and events, funding information and community programs that are available to anyone. You don't necessarily have to have a membership to access some of that information. As you can see, if we just quickly have a look at the resource example, there are lots of different resources about many different topics. You're able to sort of sort by subject area, or you can kind of choose some of the categories that we have available. So it's basically a site that is chock full of information for community-based senior serving organizations and their allied partners. And one of the key features of the platform is the groups. So as you can see, if I try to go on groups and I'm not logged in as a member, it just prompts me to kind of sign up or log in. So signing up is super easy, just an email. There's some information that you're able to add just so that we can know a little bit about you. The platform is intended for professionals to be able to collaborate and connect and share resources. So there is a quick little process by which we just screen the folks that are requesting a membership so that we can just make sure that they're not a senior actually looking for support, but someone that's part of an organization looking for capacity building and information sharing. And so once you're logged in, you'll be able to have a look at the groups. And as you can see, there are 9 groups that are currently active on CORE. And the current groups are all open groups, so you're able to join any of the groups that are there currently. And the newest group is the Intergenerational Linkages Community of Practice group, as you can see here. So we'll just browse through there really quickly. And Crystal, would you like to speak to this group? Just a little bit on what's on there.
Sure thing, Miriam. Thank you for that. So this is where we're going to be when we're not together. If you want to connect the discussion groups, offering resources, notifying us about events, any training opportunities that we might be able to promote or be involved in to help build out this community of practice and to continue to bring together those working in this space. So as Miriam showed here, there's opportunity to add resources. So if you have a key resource that you've used that's really helped you to connect, create your programs, please share. That's what it's all about, to become more collaborative. We have the opportunity to feature an event or a training session or a resource, which I think is really great, because if we have something that's upcoming shortly, we can feature it and it can be on the front of the CORE website, or it can be involved in this group as well. I know that that Betty's not here, but she's going to be part of the group management of this site, and we're hoping to get back to people in a timely fashion, and we'll be sorting that out as well. But we're hoping to get back within 1 to 2 days if you post a discussion, or you can connect with us immediately, and we'll provide some information. And so as you can see, great, Miriam, we can connect to the group members themselves here. We should have, do we have contact information associated with this? I'm not too sure. Oh, you can private message us, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And so there's ability to private message us if you're looking for more information in any one of our areas of expertise, perhaps. Do we have any questions about that?
And I'm sorry, Crystal, I just wanted to clarify for folks that as a member, you are able to contribute content not only to the group, but also to the overall kind of core if you just wanted to post a public resource. And so obviously, if you wanted to share something, a resource or an event or a funding opportunity or a training opportunity with this particular group, as a member, you're able to do that. Once you put in the information, Liz or I will be receiving a notification that someone has contributed some content. We'll make sure, so just to say, don't worry if it isn't perfect. We'll make sure that everything is in the format it should be, and that it's working properly before it gets posted. And so there's always that check, so you can feel comfortable posting things and knowing that there will be someone that's having a look at things. And so again, you can do that in the group, and you can also do that just in the general section here. And yes, if anyone has any questions, please jump in. We will be adding that funding opportunity to this group, as well as we will be following up with an email to everyone that's registered to this event, and we'll include that information that Crystal was talking about as well. Okay, well, thank you. I'll go back to the presentation here.
Okay, so this is the opportunity to ask any questions, to connect with anyone else online that you'd like to, allowing you the opportunity. I know we have a few moments left. I do want to mention that we're looking to meet up again at towards the end of November, and we're hoping that we'll get some insights from you all about top priorities of discussion points. So where we can really start building momentum and building those connections for you. So I do strongly encourage you to fill out the survey, the evaluation poll. I know people don't love surveys, but it really is the basis of what we're going to achieve here. We don't have a date yet set, but we're hoping to do that in the near future. Yes, Jody, that's a great point. Don't be shy about starting discussion threads or responding to discussion threads. This is a way that we can continue the communication and continue the engagement. Excellent to see there's an option to connect with the community of practice online through the core website, as well as to access resources and other info. Yes, Charlene, it is a wonderful opportunity to collaborate and to build those connections. Thanks, Crystal, for sharing that.
Sorry, Crystal. I was just going to say I'm going to put the survey link just in the chat box in case anyone would like to get a head start and have a look at that as we are wrapping up.
Thanks, Miriam. Okay, well, I want to probably be able to give you 5 minutes of your life back here to do the amazing work that you're born to do. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Marian, Liz, myself, Betty, Ruby, anyone that has discussed here, we'll get in contact. And thank you all for attending. It means so much to be able to bring the province and communities together.
Thanks, everyone. If you have any questions, please contact us at healthyaging@calgaryunitedway.org. Thank you so much.
Take care, everybody.